Hello, my name is Sherry from livingdiystyle.com, and today I want to talk to you about sewing stretchy knits without a serger. If you only have a standard home sewing machine like this one, you can still sew amazing knit projects because today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 really helpful tips on how to sew with knits. We're also going to be doing 3 different popular stitches that are known to be successful using a standard home sewing machine, but which one holds up the best? That's what we're going to find out today. So let's just get right into it right now. Oh, one more thing. If you like these tips, just click the link below and it will take you to a PDF that you can download, and then you can print it out and you can have all the 5 tips right beside your sewing machine every time you sew knits, so that you don't have to just keep coming back and researching the same subject. It'll all be right there on that piece of paper right next to your sewing machine. Click the link below to get it.
Tip number 1, choose the right needle. For most sewing projects, we typically use universal needles, but that's not what we want to use for stretchy fabrics. If you did, you'd probably end up breaking your thread and skipping quite a few stitches like you see here. This only ends up in a lot of frustration. To avoid this kind of frustration, my suggestion to you is to use a ballpoint needle or a stretch needle. That will bring us to tip number 2. Tip number 2, know what kind of knits you're working with. Knowing what kind of stretch fabrics you're working with will help you to choose whether you should use either a ballpoint needle or a stretch needle. For heavier weight stretch fabrics, Ponte Roma or Polar Fleece, you should choose a ballpoint needle. But for highly elastic fabrics like spandex or lycra, you should use a stretch needle. Tip number 3, choosing the right stitch. So because we're using a stretchy fabric, we need to use stitches that actually stretch. If we don't, and we just use a regular straight stitch, you see what happens. It just breaks. So what is the best stitch for stretchy fabric? Well, let's find out. Let's do a test. I've got 3 pieces of fabric, stretchy knit fabric, that are cut all to the same length here. And we're going to use 3 different stitches to find out which one has the most stretch. So our first runner-up is the zigzag stitch. So in order to make a zigzag stitch, you need to choose the width. I'm going to choose 2.5 for my width for my zigzag stitch. Okay, so now I'm just going to sew down one side with my zigzag stitch, and I'm going to switch over now manually to switch over to the lightning stitch, and I'm just going to finish that up. And then I'm going to again do my last test strip with the triple stitch. And I'm just going to finish that up real quick, and then we'll test them all out and see which one is strongest. Okay, we're ready to test. Let's start with the triple stretch, and we are getting 18 inches before I heard the first thread snap. Okay, now let's try the lightning stitch. That one, I'm only getting 16 inches before I heard the first thread snap. So let's try a tried and true zigzag stitch. And with the zigzag stitch, we are getting, oh, I think we have a winner. 18.5 to 19 inches before I heard the thread break. Tip number 4, adjust the tension. So in this little diagram, it's showing the needle pulling up thread from the bobbin. Now, every machine has a tension dial, and that sets whether that thread that's being pulled up is either tight or loose. On my machine, the higher the number, the tighter the tension. The lower the number, the looser the tension is. So in my instruction manual for sewing stretchy fabrics, they suggested putting the tension at 1. Something else that may be very helpful when you're sewing very thin, stretchy fabrics is adjusting your pressure dial. The pressure dial directly affects the pressure that the presser foot puts down on the fabric. So on my machine, to get less pressure on this presser foot, you would set it to setting 1. That's going to put less pressure on the fabric and it's going to glide through a lot easier. Tip number 5, test before you sew.
So for tip number 5, just make sure you do a test stitch before you make your final project. Just take 2 pieces of fabric, place them right sides together, and make a stitch along one edge. And make sure when you're done to pull on it, see how your stitches react to that, open it up, check out your seam, make sure there's no puckering, make sure it looks good. And if all looks good, just go with that. And if there's adjustments to be made, now you know some of the things you can work on, like changing the tension or looking at the pressure dial. So some of those things might help you out if your test project doesn't look so good. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment below. I would sure appreciate it. It helps bump up this video so that other people can see it too. And I hope to see you in the next video.
Thank you so much for watching my video. If you enjoyed my teaching style, I'd now like to invite you to continue to learn with me by clicking on the link here to visit my website and pattern shop, or by watching more free videos that I've created for you. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.